Body, mind and soul then was the next topic that you highlighted as the one that you were least happy with. As I've already said, you can see that there's not as many boxes and we should be able to cover this easier than religious experience. So, first top box is for Plato. You have the whole box to write that. So you can write big, you can spread out. So the first box is for Plato. The first top half of the sheet is just for Plato anyway, because this is a key part of the topic.
Anyway.
Yes?
Please have our pen lunch run out.
The reason that students don't like this topic, I'm not actually quite sure about, because half of it's Plato and half of it's Aristotle. You've got them in the bag, you know them. Yes, people like Gilbert Ryle are trickier, but they're not that difficult. So the first part of the box is for Plato. Plato sought something permanent and certain. Remember the river quote on Plato's logic of change, leading to his world of forms, WOF, his world of forms. What this means is Plato focused upon the idea that this world changes, everything in this world changes. The Heraclitus quote, you can't step in the same river twice, or can you step in the same river twice? Everything in this world changes, so by logic of opposites, a world that changes means there must be an opposite world that does not change. That led him to the idea of the world of forms. Sam, go on.
The whole logical opposites thing that he bases his argument.
Yeah.
What is it like? I know what it is, but where's his proof?
I think you've got a fair point about the logic of opposites. If anything, though, that is probably the only part of his argument that actually does make sense, because we do know that everything has an opposite, hot and cold and night and day. Even in mathematics, you've got positive and negative numbers. Everything does work to opposites. How he then jumps to the conclusion that because this world changes, there's a world that doesn't change, yes, that is a leap of logic, and that's absolutely fine to argue that. But the idea of the argument of opposites does actually work. The conclusion he draws, however, does not. Yeah, very good question, Sam, thank you. Plato argues that if permanence cannot be found in this material world, there must exist another world, therefore the soul must be immortal, no beginning, no end, in order to experience this and therefore be separate from this world too. Therefore the soul is the essential and immaterial part of a human. Basically, because there has to be another world that does not change, because there has to be a world separate from our existence, we therefore must have a soul that can go to that place that is therefore immortal and immaterial itself. So what starts out as a logical conclusion can be reduced down to an illogical. What starts out as a logical start, can conclude quite illogically. Reductio ad absurdum would be fine for something like that. You do have your highlighters in front of you, and don't forget just to summarise briefly. This isn't about writing it all down, this is just about getting the key features there. The next slide has the next box, has three sections. The first section of the box is just for that. So the first box, the first section of it, is for the qualities of the soul found in the Phaedo. That's his book. Within that, he talks about how the soul is divine, intelligible, which is understandable, uniform, which means constant, indissoluble, so permanent, unchangeable, Can anybody tell me a better word for unchangeable?